Hi folks, Charly Shelton with Universal Parks News Today. Today we're going to be talking about Halloween Horror Nights. The event has been on for a few weeks now, and we've been a couple of times. We've seen everything there is to see, and now it's time to review it all in this in-depth review. If you're only interested in one of the aspects or want to pick and choose what you want to hear about, in the description of this video we have put chapter markers, so feel free to jump to whatever interests you throughout the video. So first things first, let's talk tickets. There's 33 events total, 33 event nights that are going to be happening between September 8th is when it opened, and the last night is going to be Halloween, October 31st. So there's 33 nights that are going to host Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios. For that, there are several different ticketing options. General admission ranges from $72 to $102, depending on which night you're going to go. You can get the Universal Express, which is a different entry line, and that's from $279 to $359. The Universal Express is only a single admission to each house, so you can upgrade that to the Express Unlimited, which gives you unlimited admissions to each of the houses, no matter how many times they scan you. That's $319 to $399. You can also bundle your admission to Halloween Horror Nights with an after 2 p.m. ticket into Universal Studios for, visiting the rides and the other shows that they aren't going to be offering during the event. That after 2 o'clock ticket is $112 to $152, depending on the date. You can also upgrade that to have a one-time use Universal Express pass for $329 to $419, depending on the date. You can do the Frequent Fear Pass, which is 27 nights throughout the entire run of the event, where you can go only saving out, like Halloween and the really, really popular nights. And so that you can come back multiple times. It is general admission, but then you can not worry about having to hit it all in one night. You can come back over several nights throughout the event, and that is $199. And then if you want the Ultimate Fear Pass, that's no blackout dates, all 33 nights, even Halloween and the very popular ones, for $329. The value of that gets less and less the further into the event we go, because you can't really, it's going to be the same price whether you buy it the week before the event ends or if you buy it on day one. So the value of that does start to shrink the longer you wait. And then finally, the last option is the RIP tour, and this is like the really big one. This is a private guided tour to each of the houses. They get really fast entry. You don't even really have to wait in any lines. They just kind of walk you up to the front. You get a special moment on the back lot. There's no mazes directly on the back lot this year, so it is just a specialty thing. You get in the VIP tour trolley. You get to go down to the back lot for a special moment, and then you get the buffet dinner on the upper lot there, and they have characters come through and interact with you. There's special photo ops and stuff. And then after your guided tour that takes you through the houses of whatever your itinerary is, then you get the Universal Unlimited Pass on top of that. So if you're going to hang out past the end of the RIP tour time slot, you can still go and hit all the houses with relatively short lines. And that one runs $419 to $499. So those are all your options for all of this. In the many times that I've done this, I usually, for Universal, it is a bit pricey, but I usually spring for the Express Pass. I've been very fortunate in the last several years to have the media department welcome me in and give me a pass for opening night so that I get to walk through and get some footage for you guys. So we get to show it all off and can get through everything in one night. This year I have gone twice because I didn't film everything all at once and the food and everything else. So it did take us a little while to get to everything. And so the second time going in with general admission, I got to experience it as a general admission guest and with the Universal Express Pass. And of the two, the Express Pass is the way to be. We have so many haunts here in the LA area and in California overall. Time is precious, and so is money. And so, if you want to hit Not Scary Farm, if you want to hit Fright Fest up at Six Flags Magic Mountain, if you want to do, the things in Griffith Park, the Haunted Hayride, and there's a Shacktober happening down at the Queen Mary where we used to have Dark Harbor. There's so many different things here that I think, you really want to maximize your time. And so because of that, even though it is a bit more pricey to get the Express Pass, the one-time use Express Pass is good. Or going on the other end, if you are going to go in for the general admission, just understand you're probably not going to hit everything. Just like mathematically with some of the mazes getting up into the 170 minutes, 200-minute wait time areas on Saturdays, and even early in the event. Like I went early in the event and we still had a 170-minute wait on Saturday for the weekend house. And it's just not going to happen to get them all done, because then also, you're probably hanging out with friends and having a good time, and you don't want to necessarily have to run from one to the next and not eat the entire time and then stay all the way till 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's a lot. And so to kind of make it easier on yourself, it's worth it, I think, to upgrade to the Express Pass. And then you get through all the mazes once with your one-time scan, and if you have time after you've seen them all, which hopefully you will, you can go back and revisit some favorites and then wait in line for that. Or, if you do want to do it multiple times, the unlimited one isn't that much more expensive than the one-time use. So that's my 2 cents. Having never done the RIP tour, I can't really speak to that, but I've done all the other ones. And at one point I did have a frequent fear pass and found that because there are so many other events, I didn't use it quite as much as I was hoping I would. So I think the best way of doing things, if you want to see other events in the LA area, is the Express Pass. But if you go in general admission, you can pick your favorite few, and that's what we're going to talk about next, is which houses, if you are going in general admission, or if you really don't want to wait in all those lines, whatever it is, which houses are the best. You can see them all on YouTube. A lot of people have uploaded them all over YouTube. So it's not that you can't see it, but watching it on YouTube doesn't do it justice even a little bit, because these things are so dimly lit, and getting that feeling in there. I mean, just smelling the fog alone, you're never going to get the full experience watching a video on YouTube as you would walking through. So I highly recommend going to this. This year is one of the best Halloween Horror Nights we've had in a long time. And that's saying something, because it's almost always a great event. Like, it's always a great event, but like there are some years that are better than others. And you can tell when some years, like, all of the money and time went into making one really intense IP-based house, and the others are kind of, feel a little phoned in. This year, it's very evenly spaced. Everything is pretty good. There are some high points and some low points, but even the low points are still fantastic houses. This is a really great year, and I really respect what they've done, what the whole team has done to bring us these houses this year. And you'll notice, for any of my LA friends, I am saying houses. They are officially haunted houses now. We're not calling them mazes anymore, so I got to get into that, and I'm going to try to not slip up on that one. So let's look at the houses. Let's break them down one by one. First, the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare. I think, unfortunately, this one, for me, was one of the weaker ones, if not the weakest one of the event. It's fine. It doesn't really do anything revolutionary tech-wise. The scares aren't particularly engrossing, and there was nothing where I kind of got trapped in a hallway and got really scared by anything. It's more about looking at the set pieces and kind of living through, I guess, the music videos of the Weeknd. And it's not that the production values were bad or anything. It just didn't wow me. There were so many other things that were creative little touches in some of the other houses that really were impressive, and this one seemed to be just kind of walking through the same room several times through, and I'm a little underwhelmed by that, and that has nothing to do with it being like a music-based house, because the Black Sabbath house from several years ago was spectacular, and the Alice Cooper one will go down in fame as one of the best houses I think they've ever done. So it's not even that it's a trouble of transitioning from the music world to the haunt world. I think that can be done. I just don't think this one came out in the same way that we were all hoping it would. So it's the weakest one. If you're a really huge fan of The Weeknd, then by all means that's really going to get to you, and you do get to see actors portraying The Weeknd all the way through the event. So it's very much immersive in that theming, that he is definitely part of this. It didn't really speak to me on a lot of levels. So, and of all of them, I think this is definitely the weakest. So this is on the lower lot going over now. Another one on the lower lot is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This is a repeat house that has come back from years gone by, and I think this is a much better version. Whereas when it came out the first time, it did feel like one of the ones that kind of got slighted on not production value, but more space. Like it just didn't feel like it fit. This one is so much better this year, and I don't know. It could be just rearranging things into a new layout, because I feel like they have a lot of the same pieces reused, a lot of the same set areas. It's just laid out and it feels more cohesive as a house. If you're familiar with the film, very, very weird film. I highly recommend watching it. At the Halloween season or anytime. It's a very strange film, but like really high production values for this weird little film. And you do get the feeling as you're going through the house, you do get the feeling of going through the movie. There's a lot of the iconic things, but not just kind of thrown in there. It really paces it out as you go through the film. It's almost a retelling of the film. And there are fun, hidden, prop scares and everything. I don't want to give anything away, but like you will recognize some things from the film, and when you watch the film you're like, oh, that would make a good jump scare, and sure enough, in person it really does. So this comes out really well. I saw a lot of people, not just myself, but a lot of people enjoying this and getting the really good scares out of this. So well done on Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Not one that I was expecting to really enjoy, and it came out being one of the better haunts, I think, of the whole event. Next up, the last maze on the lower lot, or next house on the lower lot, is Universal Monsters Legends Collide. Now, the Universal Monsters series of haunts that they've done over the last many years have always been fantastic, especially with the score being done by Slash. It's just amazing, and honestly, I could stand out front of this maze and just hang out and listen to the score the entire time. This is the next in the series. Last year they did Bride of Frankenstein Lives, which I think is probably, I hate to say the greatest maze haunt they've ever done, but like it really was amazing. And we're going to talk about Scarecrow the Reaping here in a moment. I think that might be the best maze I've ever gone through, and so I'm really like neck and neck as to which one is better. But the Bride last year was so well done, and so my expectations were super high going into this, and it even met those expectations. Like, I wasn't poo-pooing on anything. I was really looking forward to this, and it still was spectacular. So it really lives up to the hype, I think, and I don't mind overselling it to you here, because just walking through, it's a really cool, creepy maze. Like, it's just got this horror movie aesthetic to it that you can't even put your finger on. It's just like production design of this whole haunt overall. And this is the second part. The one that we have in Hollywood is the second part house. The one in Florida is the first chapter of the story, and this is the second chapter of the story. So it is a continuation of sorts, and I think of the two, having only seen the other one online, but still getting the gist of it, I think ours is probably cooler, and we have, the big finale of the whole story, and so of course that's something really neat to see. Also, we, at Midsummer Scream back this summer, John Murdy, the head of creative for Halloween Horror Nights out here in Hollywood, spoke about this maze and Scarecrow and Horror Hotel and a few other things, and brought Slash out to listen to some of the music, gave some really great behind-the-scenes information about it, and showed some of the concept art and everything. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. I'll link that right up here. That is definitely worth a watch before you go through the maze, and then again after you go through the maze, so now you know what he's talking about. And I've now seen that several times, and it really is deep. The amount of thought and research and everything they've put into this is really spectacular. So Universal Monsters Legends Collide, really, really well done. I always like seeing the Wolfman in things, and Dracula, and to have the Mummy coming in. I've never seen these monsters collide like this in film or anything else. So this is really cool, and it turfs out really well as a maze. Like it lends itself to the property. I don't know that it's necessarily better than Bride of Frankenstein Lives, because that was a special moment in history, but I think it's still really good, and it definitely does justice to the Universal Monsters name. So that's it for the lower lot. We're now going to move into the upper lot with the Terror Tram. And this one is, a returning maze. They do the Terror Tram. They've done it many times. With the addition of the set from Nope, they've now got the Jordan Peele influence. And so the town of Jupiter's Claim is on the back lot, and we get to walk through that because it's right next to the crashed airplane set from War of the Worlds, which is usually where the Terror Tram walks through. So it's like you just go up around the corner. But in that time, it does feel a little disjointed. The first part is bringing back one of our very few original Haunt characters in Harry, Koodles the Clown, and it's just a classic, really creepy Halloween thing. It's this old, TV clown character who kind of went nuts and began haunting the back lot and everything, and now in his persona as Koodles the Clown is throwing a Halloween party for all of us, and we provide the blood that's going to be splattered everywhere, that kind of thing. So you walk around the back lot, and it's very movie oriented. They have a lot of great chainsaw guys who are chasing you in. They always do that right there at the entrance to the Terror Tram, and having Koodles the Clown all the way through is really, really cool. He's just a creepy character, and I like having this original character. And then you finish up and you walk out and you go around that bend and you walk up into Nope, and it becomes a second half of the maze where those creepy folks from Us are there walking around in Jupiter's Claim. It's not particularly scary. It's not particularly well done. I mean, it's cool to walk through the town and of course take some pictures and video to be right there in Jupiter's Claim. It just doesn't, it feels unnecessary. It feels like, an afterthought that was tagged on to what was originally going to be a really good Terror Tram maze, and then they just kind of tagged this on. That doesn't diminish in any way, the Happy Halloween Harry era or part of the maze or part of the house. It just kind of feels unnecessary. It feels like a post-credit bumper that we really didn't need on this maze. So it's still worth going to, and I will say, because it's an completely outdoor haunt house, because it's a completely outdoor house with no covering of any kind through the entirety of it, you're going to want to wait until the sun goes down, and it does look better when it's properly lit with the effect lighting at night rather than with daylight. But everybody kind of thinks that, and so everybody's going to swarm that as soon as the sun is fully down. So this is one of those ones you want to be aware of, because it does close earlier than the event. The event can stay open until 2, and this will close at like 11:15 or something like that. So you do want to be aware of it and not miss out on it. Don't leave it till the end. And also, because everyone's trying to cram in before that 11:15 cutoff, it gets very crowded very quickly once the sun goes down. So I think this is the one you got to keep in the back of your head the whole time of, you want to do it justice and you want to see it the right way, but you also don't want to end up waiting 100 minutes for it. So just make sure you hit that right as the sun goes down. And as we get closer to Halloween, that's going to get earlier in the evening. So hopefully it'll be less of a crunch time. But, here in the beginning of September, sun's not going down properly until sometime after 8 o'clock. And that only leaves you like 3 hours for the entire event to do it properly in 3 hours. It's just a lot. So it's, like I said, just something to keep in the back of your head. Next up, Halloween. So this is bringing out another well-worn property. They've done almost all the Halloween films. This is bringing back the classic original Halloween again. And it's good. It's always good. I don't know that it's ever anything, since the very first, where it was like so unique to have a property like Halloween come out. I don't know that it's been anything really particularly special. And like, we've seen a lot of the same gags over and over again with like the timed gunfire and everything like that. It's not really bringing much to the table that's new or impressive. It's just kind of recycling the same thing. So if you're looking for one to skip, this would probably be on that list. If you have time, I would say hit this before like Horrors of Blumhouse or The Weeknd or something. Like, this is definitely better than one of the lesser mazes here. It's just not spectacular, and it's not anything too particularly different from what we've seen in the past. So it's only okay. And speaking of only okay, the horrors of Blumhouse, with the exception of The Purge, when they bring it into the terror tram, or like that spooky tunnel they used to do to walk us down to the back lot, the Purge kind of works in those places, but like this, the horrors of Blumhouse, going through a video shop to do two different films, it just doesn't land very well. And I think the Black Phone doesn't necessarily lend itself. It's more creepy than like jump scary, and so like there are moments where you see the guy and you're walking up to him and he's being menacing or whatever, but it's not particularly terrifying. Freaky, I think, works a little bit better at that because you've got the little cheerleader girl or whatever popping out here and there, with the chainsaw or whatever. It's a little bit better, I think, but overall, I would say if you're gonna miss one, if you want to put this on the miss list with your general admission ticket or something, that would probably be wise. Also because, it's not being one of the better ones, then when you reach it, when you've finally done all the other mazes you want to do and you're like, oh, well, I have time, let's go and do it. It's later in the night. It's all the way up at the top of the upper lot at the Waterworld queue. So I think a lot of people blow past it early in the event and go and do the other mazes that they want to do, and then only come to this later in the evening trying to do cleanup, and then the weight skyrockets on it because everyone's trying to do it all at once. And so not only is it like only okay, but then you're waiting a long time for it too, it just feels like a waste. So this is one of those ones that's like, it's not a terrible maze, it's just not great. It's still, I think, got better scares than like the Weeknd does, even though it's not as cool to look at. So, all right, next up, La Llorona. This is another returning property. They've done this, I think, 2 or 3 times at least in past events, and it's always pretty good. It's one of those things that's like the imagery is so good and the sets are so good, it's really hard to mess up. So they just kind of keep recombining these pieces, and we haven't seen it in a while. So I'm glad to see it back and give it another shot. And it is a lot of the same, puppets and giant set pieces and everything and set areas. So it's good, but like it's always been good. There's nothing really new or unique about this. It's just kind of recombined of the same thing that was already good. So longtime fans are going to recognize a lot of this same stuff. If you've never been on it, been through this house before, it's fantastic. It's a great house. Don't get me wrong. It's really great. It's just something that I've seen a few times before, and I kind of get used to Universal doing new things every time, So like this, almost like Halloween, except this is far superior to Halloween just as a house. It's so well done and so amazing. They just aren't really trying anything new with it, and that's kind of okay. It comes back and it still does its job, and it's just a beautiful house to walk through. So I think you're going to enjoy it no matter what. This is not one of those ones you want to put on the skip list. If you have time for it, this is definitely one of the ones you want to hit because it's so beautiful. But don't go into it expecting a new take on anything. It's just kind of the same thing we've seen before, just not in a while. Next up, all right, coming to the end, Universal Horror Hotel. This is an original maze, and I love original mazes. The IP mazes are cool, but this house is, I gotta start saying houses. This is an original house, and I know Florida gets a lot of original houses, and I always like that, and they have a cast of characters that are always there. Bringing an original character in this this hotel manager or owner, and that he killed his wife and killed a bunch of people in the hotel, and how is that connected, and there's rumors of a cult and all this kind of stuff, and I don't want to give anything away, of course, but you see these newspapers and newsreels being shown in line as they're talking about what happened at this hotel. And now with the rise of ghost hunting tourism, Universal has opened this hotel to guests to come in and experience, and of course it's still very, very haunted. So this is really cool. And I also like, there are several points throughout where you see people just wearing like theme park merchandise of like Universal Studios Hollywood shirts and stuff, and they're all cut up, and that kind of makes it feel like, oh, that's one of us. It just gives it that extra edge of like, that's really creepy and cool. And there are some really well-designed scares in here, bouncing you back and forth, and not necessarily reusing things, but like taking other bits that we've seen in other mazes, other houses, and reusing them in new ways here is really cool. It's really well done and really well thought out. And blowing through this maze so fast, you don't have time to read the newspapers and everything on the wall, but like there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of backstory. And unfortunately, John Murdy in that Midsummer Screen panel didn't talk a whole lot about it. He kind of teased it out, and he did say that he wrote all the copy in all these newspapers. And so I'm interested, I would love to be able to read all of these newspapers and see all the work that he put into this, that the entire team put into this. It's such a beautiful maze. We're using a lot of pieces like from The Shining and stuff, but like that aesthetic is just so cool, and it's recombined in a new way. It's not just trotting out old things, it's reusing pieces they have in a new way to tell a new story with new effects, and it's really well done. I really enjoyed this. This is one of the top mazes that you definitely need to hit. This is on the other end of the spectrum. Like, if you don't have time, you make time. You go see this one. This one's incredible, and it's going to be one of those ones that I think we talk about for a long time, if nothing else, just for the immersive aesthetic of it and the backstory and everything. And hopefully, we can see these new characters again. I would love to see them come back in future iterations for future houses. And speaking of immersive, we're coming to our last maze, a house. Scarecrow the Reaping. I mentioned a few minutes ago, this might be the best house I've ever been through anywhere, ever. I was so impressed by this, and I've been doing this a long time, so to say this is one of the best, I was blown away. I've done it 3 times already. It's the little things. There's little things that I think are the most impressive. It's not the big showpiece scares. Like, they do have the big showpiece scares. They have incredible costumes. They have incredible, like, stilt walkers. They've got really creative kills. I always like a creative kill. It's not just, somebody wrapped in, like, spider webs or whatever in the corner, or somebody with a knife in his face. These are really creative, unique things. We're, like, stabbed with corn cobs and crows eating eyeballs and things. Like, very gory and very well done, but so creative. I've never seen some of these things before, and so well done. And then the little things, like those are really cool, but the little things get me. There's one part where you're walking through a barn, and you hear crows everywhere. There's crows on the walls, and there's crows up above you that you don't quite see the crows themselves. You just see them, like, they're up there, but they're backlit, so they're silhouettes. So you see their shadows coming down, and then you look up at them, and you see them in silhouette. You know they're up there, and then there's little water drips because those birds are up there pooping on you. And it's like those kind of things where it's so well done. It's so creative to think about that kind of thing, to have the foresight to include that little water jet, or to think of, like, we're going to have this room with this. That's something you just don't see in a lot of places used in this way. It's all the same stuff that we have and other houses have, but it's used in this way, and that's what makes it so special. It's so well done. It's a beautiful moment, and like, I'm telling my friends in the haunt industry, they're going to go to this anyway, but I tell them specifically, even if you weren't going to go, this is the reason to go. And my dad and I designed haunted houses for many years for local, sheriff's departments and stuff, doing community fundraisers and things, and got really intense in this. So we're both really into it. And I told him, it's worth it. I will buy you the ticket. We're going to go, and I want you to see, even if it's only this one maze, I need you to go through this, because that's how well done it is. That it's worth the price of admission for a general admission ticket just to see this one, because it's so impressive. So I can't say enough good things about this. This one, the Scarecrow, the Reaping, it was the one that John Murdy delved most deeply into the backstory in his lecture at Midsummer Scream and showed a lot of the research that he did about, it takes place during the Dust Bowl when everybody abandoned their farms and kind of just left because the land was dead, and they left these scarecrows as silent sentinels, and the scarecrows have now reclaimed the farm. So to do research in that time of the Dust Bowl, what would the farm look like when they walked away from it? So there's ample, canning supplies and things in jars, and there's even the clothes are made of that kind of material that they would make at the time during the Dust Bowl when you have nothing and you have to make do with what you've got. The style of the scarecrows, the newspaper insulation on the walls, like the attention to detail of all this stuff is something that if I had not seen his presentation at Midsummer Scream, I would have walked through and thought, wow, that was really good, and not really known why. But hearing him talk about all the research that he did and where he found all of these little bits, that's why it feels like walking through a movie set, is because it's so immersive and historically based that you've seen this time and again, learning about it in school, seeing it in other movies and everything. It feels like walking through that in real life, and it's more than just a haunt. This is a real experience. So I can't say enough good things about this. I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse now, but it really is amazing, and well done to the whole team. This has been a great year overall, and there's a few moments like this and the Universal Horror Hotel and things that really stand out above and beyond everything else to take it from a great year to an incredible year. So I highly recommend it. Moving on, talking about the scare zones now. So we have 3 official scare zones, which is, the performers who walk out and around in the area, usually associated with a house or something, or sometimes just generic. As you walk into the park, we have Clownsawz, and that kind of runs right into Sideshow Slaughterhouse. Sideshow Slaughterhouse has some characters, but you see the Clownsawz, which is clowns with chainsaws, running up and down through the entire area, so they are kind of intermixed, and even underneath the signs that say Sideshow Slaughterhouse, you still have clowns with saws. And vice versa, down in the area, there's no real sets or anything for Clownsawz, so, all the people congregate looking at the sets, and of course the fire jets and everything at Universal Plaza, the big entrance statement piece, and so that's where everybody congregates, and that's where the clowns go to scare them, and that's where you hang out for a little while. That's how you start your night. So it's cool, but to be honest, the best part about this entire area is at the end of the night, the chainsaw chase out, and this is something that they've done for years and years. It's become a tradition. The chainsaw chase out is at the end of the night as they're trying to get people, to usher towards the exit of the park. They bring up their chainsaw brigade, which is the best chainsaw wielding performers they have. They bring them all up to the front of the park. They'll just kind of line up and wait. And then when the beat drops in the music, they'll turn on the chainsaws and chase everybody, and everybody goes screaming out of the gates. And it's really great. And just watching these performers go to town is a lot of fun. So that's that scare zone. And then the other scare zone is El Pueblo Del Terror. That's at the exit of La Llorona maze. So when you walk out of that maze, you walk into El Pueblo Del Terror. It kind of continues the theme. This is all on French Street. And you have La Llorona walking around. You have El Cucuy. You have just a bunch of the Mexican and Central American and South American boogeymen. Chupacabra is there. Some of the ones that you've heard of, some that maybe are new, in these really cool, unique costumes, and they're chasing everybody around in the fog, and it's all set within kind of like a pulp novel, comic booky aesthetic that they're projecting on screens and showing who each of the characters are for those uninitiated, like myself, who I didn't know a lot of these characters, and then saw the name and went home and looked it up. So it's really cool, and it's a unique scare zone in that you don't get to see a lot of these characters very often. So it's cool, but it's nothing to write home about. The one area that everybody's talking about, which is not officially a scare zone, it's called an encounter. And I think that has to do with the rights of the wizarding world, but this is the Death Eaters have come to Hogsmeade Village to recruit for their numbers to serve the Dark Lord, Voldemort. This is something I believe they had in Florida in times past, and now we've got it here, and it's really cool. A lot of the people that I've talked to who say they want to go to Horror Nights this year, they want to come and see the Death Eaters. That's like the main draw. So it's good. It's bringing people in. It's not a scare zone. It's an encounter. And they do have a little bit more than a scare zone. They have like a dedicated alleyway going through Hogsmeade Village where it's all lit with green light, and there's lots of fog, and they have like moments where the lights, come in and on as they kind of poof in and out. I can't remember what the spell is where they do it, but they just poof in and out with the wand, and then the lights, turn off and they disappear, lights turn back on, and they poof back in with a puff of smoke, and it's really cool. And it makes for some really great photos. I just standing around there, because it's a scare zone of sorts, you don't have to rush through as fast as you do in the houses, and so you can kind of stand and get that perfect moment. And so I got a couple of really great shots there, and I think that, if nothing else, makes it worth it to just hang out there. And then, walking around and seeing Hogwarts at night and everything, there's the dark mark projected onto Hogwarts, which is the symbol of their order. Just a really cool, it fits within the world, and it's cool on its own, but it also works thematically with the land. And I think it's something that we sorely needed there. It was a little weird to not have, the place full of wizards and witches and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's classic Halloween. So I think it's good to have it open, even though I'm not gonna lie, I really just kind of want to go to the that Halloween feast they have in the films with like the floating jack-o'-lanterns and everything. Like, if they can figure out how to make jack-o'-lanterns float, I'll just post up at 3 Broomsticks all night and just drink butterbeer until I pass out. Like, that's what I really want. But this is really cool too, and I just like having it available in the land and kind of bring something to the event and to the wizarding world as well. So that's all the scare zones and the encounter, the Death Eater's encounter. So one other area that's not quite a scare zone, but it's just a fun little walkthrough that's not listed on any maps, is the Haunted Forest. This is in the waiting area for the Universal Animal Actors stage, and it's just one of those cool little things that you just kind of walk through. There's no performers or anything, so I guess that's what makes it not a scare zone. But you could just kind of walk through and see some cool props and creepy music and fog machines and all that. This was honestly one of my favorite little walkthrough areas. It's just cool to see. Like, it's just sets, but they're reusing some of the old favorite set pieces guys. Like, there's a pumpkin guy who used to be at the front of the park, and then they use him in a couple other things. Really cool, creepy little pumpkin guy. Glad to see him coming back into play again. There's a werewolf from the American Werewolf in Paris or London, one of them, that was a really cool effect in one of the houses many years ago. Now they're using him as just like a set piece, but cool little things. It's a nice little area to walk through, and it's definitely one that you want to go into and hang out and do some photography. Same as the Death Eater encounter, is just go and hang out, take some nice pictures. That's where you want to get your shots for Instagram, and you're not going to get in anybody's way, because I think that's what a lot of the people are doing there. So that's another cool one. We also have live entertainment in the parks. We have an opening moment in the Clownsawz area that happens throughout the night rather than just the one, right at the opening. It's a moment, not necessarily an opening moment, but it's like a show-stop moment that happens throughout the night that you can see, where everybody kind of waits for the music to swell and then all attack at once, and it's kind of cool. With so much else going on, I don't know that it's necessarily something to like camp out and wait for, unless you work for a theme park blog. But it's still cool to see if you're passing through, and it's just more of that fun, immersive theater that you have within the scare zone. It gives everybody a chance to really have all eyes on them and really perform well. And then the other one is Jabbawockeez, which I've seen in the past, and I didn't see this year, to be honest, because it's just kind of a song and dance show. I still miss Bill and Ted's show, which was really fun, and that ended several years ago. But it's nice to have something, so if you do want to get away for a little while and go sit in the theater, you can go and watch the Jabbawockeez. So, foods. I've done 2 videos on this already that are on the channel, so you can see part 1 and part 2, and I'll link both of those right up here. You can see all of that. Part 1 includes the Killer Barbecue from Outer Space and the Weeknd After Hours Nightmare Bar, and I think that's it for the first 2. And then the second video is Hollywood and Dine, Voodoo Donuts out in City Walk, and the JoJo Ice Cream downstairs on the lower lot. Studio Scoops has been taken over by JoJo Ice Cream. So the Killer Barbecue from Outer Space, there's not a lot of barbecue, and the barbecue that they do have is like barbecue pulled chicken that was very bad. Like, it's just not good. It tastes frozen and awful. I'm not going to get too horribly into all of this because you can go and watch the videos, and please do, and like and subscribe and all those wonderful things. But the Killer Barbecue from Outer Space, the only reason to go down there is because they have a twisted tater, if that's what you're into. They're kind of like potato chips, like a fried potato that's all spiral cut, and they come out almost like potato chips. They're very thin and crispy, and those are actually pretty good. The Weekend After Hours Nightmare Bar, same thing. Very disappointed in all these horribly expensive cocktails. Just unpleasant all the way through. The pizza fries that are available up at the Weekend After Hours Nightmare Bar, though, those pizza fries are great. And so if you're going to wait in that line, it's a very long line. I waited 40 minutes to get mine. But if you're going to wait in that long line, at least the pizza fries are pretty good. I know that's a Universal Orlando favorite. We now have them here, and they are very good. So I get what the hype is about. The JoJo Ice Cream taking over Studio Scoops on the lower lot. Theme to Killer Klowns, as the ice cream truck that's in the film several times. Like, it's fine. It's ice cream. There's nothing particularly special about it. It's just a plain old vanilla shake most of the time. Like, there's one where the popcorn kind of runs into it, so it's popcorn flavored vanilla shake. And the uniqueness of that is nice, I guess, to say that I had a popcorn flavored shake. But it's meh. Like, it's just not worth the time. Hollywood and Dine, though, on the upper lot, that one blew me away. There's a Korean corn dog that is one of the best things I've had. I can safely say that's the best specialty food for Halloween Horror Nights in the park. Even better than the pizza fries, better than the twisted taters. Best Halloween Horror Nights food is this Korean corn dog. It was amazing. Corn dog wrapped in mozzarella and then fried in a Korean batter. Unbelievably good. So all of these things are available in these two videos. The places that we didn't talk about is the Minion Cafe, which doesn't have a whole... It's open and has a lot of their normal stuff. They have a couple of special things, but I haven't had a chance to get to those. We just ran out of time. They have a chicken bacon ranch mac and cheese, which, I'm not sad about missing. And the Dia de los Muertos area has a bar with some specialty cocktails, and the Little Cocina, which is the food tent that they have there. I've eaten there in years past, and it's fine. I think the rule with that and with all of the specialty food is it's not going to be as good as the food that you can get at the window at the restaurant that exists year round. So, they have tacos and stuff. The birria tacos are fine, but, I don't think any of it is going to be as good as it is from Cochina Mexicana right there, right on the other side of the wall. It's much better food, and you don't have to wait in as long of a line because it's not special, so people aren't waiting for it. You can get it year round, and it's good. The sopes there are great. We actually reviewed that one as well. You can find that on our channel too. And same on the lower lot. Don't go to the Killer Barbecue from Outer Space or anything like that. Go to Jurassic Cafe. Fantastic food at Jurassic Cafe, and the line is super crazy short. Also, the bar, the Island New Bar, great cocktails. They're year-round, spectacular cocktails. Don't even bother with the Weekend After Hours Nightmare Bar, because it really is a nightmare. But, they have a long line, too. There's also cocktails inside Jurassic Cafe, and we have a review of that on our YouTube channel as well. So if you're looking to avoid the lines and just go and get something, get back in the mazes, go to Jurassic Cafe. Or on the upper lot, Three Broomsticks is fantastic. So there's a lot of great options that are there year-round, and during the event, they're going to have shorter lines than the specialty foods. So, why would you wait for something subpar? Anyway, like I said, take a look at all these videos. We have a whole bunch of them for you on the channel, and we go way more in depth on all of these things. All right, so merchandise. There's a lot of merchandise that came out this year. I dare say more than in years past, because we not only got collections for each of the houses that are featured here this year, we also got the Everyday is Halloween collection, a lot of stuff that came in that they also had in Florida. And so there's a pumpkin out there named Lil Boo. And Lil Boo is having a moment on social media last year, I guess, and so they leaned into it real hard this year with Lil Boo purses and Lil Boo sippers and all this stuff. It makes sense in Florida. It doesn't quite make sense the same way here, but it's still fine. Like, it's still a cute pumpkin. It's still a cute pumpkin merchandise collection with like a skeleton and a cat and stuff. So there is some good merch here, and we've got the Every Day is Halloween, which is a lot of the Lil Boo stuff, and there's, candies and fans and jackets and all kinds of stuff with that. And then in addition to that, there are merchandise lines for each of the houses that we have. Most of the houses, if not all of them by now, have scented candles for each one, which is kind of cool and unique. I don't think we've had that before. And so there's a lot of different options to fit your merchandising needs. I will say everybody kind of rushes in and goes right for the merch, and so the lines get really long in the shop, and like they're probably not going to run out of stuff. And so go and hit the mazes or the houses while the lines are shorter. Go and get that done. The studio store will stay open. Like, it'll be there later, and the lines will probably be shorter, and I would be willing to bet, especially if you go early in the season, they're probably not going to run out of as much. I mean, on occasion, they run out for the day or something like that, so if you're really passionate about it, feel free. But as a general overall rule, you can probably leave your shopping to the end and try and maximize your time in the houses. But it's a cool collection of stuff. We also have a shop down in City Walk that's Every Day is Halloween. If you don't make it into the park, you want to go looking there or something, or if you get there early and you're trying these Halloween donuts at Voodoo Donut and you want to go and do your Halloween shopping there, you can definitely get it done there so you're not taking time away from the event itself. So there's lots of other options like that, but just something to keep in mind. And if you want to see all of the merchandise that came out with prices, all of that kind of stuff, we do have a video for you here on our YouTube channel, and on the website we have a full breakdown of everything that's available. So that's merchandise. So that's kind of it for the whole event. But in parting, I'll just leave you with some tips and tricks of having gone to this now twice this season, and then for the last, however many years they've been doing this. I've been doing this every year. You kind of get to learn things. I would say the biggest thing is the lower lot opens at 6 p.m. Everything else opens at 7 p.m. So you can go in ahead of time, 5:30 or so. Go in, get your wristband, they send you through, you go downstairs to the lower lot, and you can line up for the houses down there, being the Weeknd and Killer Klowns and Universal Monsters. Get in line for those, and then those will open at 6 or 6:15, depending on availability. And then you get through that one, and you can probably, if you're quick enough, if you're close enough up in the line, and if everything goes smoothly, you can probably get through 2 of those by the time 7 o'clock rolls around. The third one, probably not, but by that time, the waits have skyrocketed considerably. So, for example, I went on a Saturday with a general admission pass. I waited maybe 4 minutes to get in, like after opening. It took me maybe 4 minutes for the line to pulse through at Universal Monsters. And we got through that one pretty quick. Granted, I was down there probably 20 minutes, half an hour early before they opened at 6:15. So I probably got down there about 6:45, 6:50-ish, or 5:45, and got in line and then waited that. And then as soon as they opened at 6:15, I was in there by 6:20. And got through all the way through that one, and then went over and only waited maybe 20 or 30 minutes on Killer Klowns immediately after that. By the time I got out of that, the Weeknd was 170 minutes. And then went up to the upper lot where everything was 55 to 60 minutes. So you're going to wait. Like, there's no way of getting around it. If you have a general admission ticket, you're going to wait. But if you can get those, 1 or 2 of those mazes on the lower lot, which have substantially higher wait times than the upper lot most of the night, if you can get 1 or 2 of those out of the way early on in the evening, that's going to be better. So if you're like thinking about, should I go early or should I stay late, definitely go early. It's going to be a lot easier. Because also as you start going into the 2 o'clock hour, you're exhausted, and granted there's not as many people, but still, there's going to be a lot who are trying to fit those last few houses in at the end of the night. So something to be aware of. And then beyond that, I'm not as young as I used to be, and I've noticed that years of doing this, without earplugs and without the kind of comfort items that I need, for me it's earplugs and a fan. And even if they're bright pink and they're glowing in the black light there, and I know, when I used to go when I was younger, my friends would make fun of me if I had something like that, but you got to take care of yourself, and it makes the difference of being burnt out at 10 o'clock versus being able to go until 2 o'clock and be like, yeah, I can wait another hour and get in right before they close the line or something. It makes the difference in your overall comfort level and how much you want to stick around, I think, if you have whatever your comfort items are. So I have one of those giant Halloween Horror Nights fans to fan myself with, because, especially in early September, it's still really hot. It's 100 degrees today. And standing there, 5:45 with the sun still up waiting on a maze, you're going to be hot. So for me, a maze and earplugs make all the difference. And of course, drinking enough water. But whatever it is for you, don't be ashamed of going through. If you need, eye protection, ear protection, whatever it is, take care of yourself, and it'll make your overall night more enjoyable. And I hate that I have to say that, but having had so many friends who give me a hard time about things, and even seeing other people in the park this year, I wasn't going to say anything, but I saw a few people being derided for their, not being able to make it all night in heels. There was a girl who switched out, bought a pair of the, sneakers in the shop and had to switch out, and people were giving her friends were giving her a hard time because she couldn't make it. But it's a lot of walking. It's a long way up and down the stairs, even though you're on an escalator, up and down the stairs all night, walking around a theme park, you're tired. Take care of yourself and show up in the heels if you want to, but definitely bring a pair of flats to switch out into, you got to think about it as a marathon, not a sprint. So hopefully that's helps first-time guests and long-time guests. Don't worry about it, and just bring whatever you need to bring and dress however you need to dress to be comfortable, and think about it as a full day in a theme park. Even though it's at night, you can still spend, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours in the park doing all this. So you got to think about it as a full day in a park, just without the sun. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So for all of this and more, we have write-ups about all of these on the website. We have tons of videos on our YouTube channel. Please take a look at everything, find our food reviews and everything else. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know in the comments down below, and thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you next time.